Good morning. This is Davene, and I am coming to you live from San Luis Obispo, California. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. I am having a little breakfast here. Little coffee, bagel with some cream cheese, and getting ready to face my day here at my father's house. So a lot of you probably wondering what's going on. I was making some videos, doing some stuff on YouTube, and then I kind of went quiet for a while. Well, that's because, as some of you will know, that I got a call from my dad. He needed my help. He has Alzheimer's disease. So I had to kind of pack everything up and leave Santa Fe and come out to California to take care of my dad. And it wasn't an easy thing to do. It was just kind of finally got kind of settled in Santa Fe, had a nice apartment downtown, had a good job. Things were pretty stable and things were going well, but I had to just uproot myself and come out to California on a mission to care for my father, who really needed help. I mean, not only the Alzheimer's disease, but people were trying to take advantage of his condition. And so there was a battle with them, and there was quite a number of them, people who claimed to be his friends, but really they were just, cleaning him out, taking his paintings and getting him to write checks, and, they pretty much robbed him blind. Anyway, I packed up all my stuff, fit what I could in my truck, caved the rest away, and drove out here in early 2021. And things were going pretty good at first. We got settled in with Dad, kind of settled into a routine with him. Got a job right away at one of the best law firms in the area, paying top dollar, and I was really happy about that. So things are going really good. Then all of a sudden, one morning, I come out and there's this lady coming up my porch, and lady coming up my porch, my dad's porch, and she said she was a friend of Dad's and came to see him. Dad had gone out to get a six-pack and he wasn't here. So I started talking with her, and she seemed like a nice person, she sounded like a friend of Dad's. Some of the questions she asked me led me to think, she probably doesn't know him that well. But she, seemed like she was a friend of his, and so I invited her to come back again and visit with Dad, and he recognized her. Didn't seem to know her very well, but he recognized her, and of course he was very interested in her. My father loves women. He's very kind of I'd say vulnerable to women. He's just easily manipulated by women. And anyway, this lady, I think what happened with her was she had been living in Arizona and working on the reservation in Arizona as a teacher or something, and then decided she wanted to come back to the San Luis Obispo area. So she had been in contact with my dad through text messages and stuff, and I think that she was planning to come out here and stay with him. So she was kind of disappointed, I think, when she showed up to the place and found me here staying with my dad, taking care of him, looking after him. And yeah, she seemed kind of disappointed. I think she wanted to stay here. Like she didn't have a place, she was relocating back. She needed a place to land. And there was also some discussion or mention of using my dad's studio space, either leasing it or uh, just sharing it for to, I guess she's an artist too. So I got some people joining in here. Homes Decor, Angelito, haces habla español, ¿quién habla español? Debbie Cruikshank, hi. And how are you? Hello, Debbie. Thanks for tuning in. Great to have you all here with me today. It's just been a long, crazy trip out here, and it's been uh, hard for me to, you know, keep up with this channel and keep things going here. But I just wanted to give you all an update, let you know what's going on. It's been rough, and anybody who has to deal uh, with uh, a loved one who has Alzheimer's disease, you know what I'm talking about. It is just, it's really a hard thing to deal with. Not just the Alzheimer's disease, but the stuff that goes around it with the people surrounding it. Um, so anyway, after I got things rolling here, things were going good, and these people showed up and they started kind of interfering with what I was doing, like asking a lot of questions about Dad and his condition, asking me what I thought were pretty inappropriate questions about his finances and his estate, his art collection. Because Dad, you know, before the disease took hold of him, he was really doing a lot of paintings. I mean, he was uh, producing, tons, just painting after painting after painting, and really beautiful work in his studio in San Miguel. And these, like, he would make these custom frames to go around the paintings out of mahogany, and just all of his paintings would do them on mahogany, just really beautiful work. And so, you know, he was most famous for his florals, like his bouquets and stuff. And so those were selling pretty well, and but as the disease took hold of him, the Alzheimer's started to take hold of him. He started giving away paintings to people, to strangers, people he just met. He'd give them like a $5,000 painting, and so he doesn't have many of those sellable paintings left, like the bouquets and the florals that people like to put in their living rooms. Instead, we have a lot of, like, he got real into doing nudes for a while in the early 2000s, and he, like, can't really sell nudes very well. Nobody's going to buy one and put it up in their living room. It's beautiful work. Yes, it is beautiful work, but not easy to sell. So I've got all these nudes, that uh, I don't know how to sell them. And there's some really high-end pieces, like some big, huge paintings and on screens and things that are like worth a lot of money, and those are hard to sell because, you know, someone might spend a few thousand on a painting, but it's not many people who are going to spend 20,000, 30,000 on a painting. So I'm stuck with those, and everything's in kind of in the studio. And as these people were, I think what they were trying to do is get control of Dad's art collection. And so this lady Peggy, she showed up again like a few weeks later with this other guy, and this guy is also kind of elderly, and his name was Nick. He introduced himself as Nick, and he told me that he also had some kind of cognitive impairment, although he wouldn't be very specific about it. He didn't tell me exactly what it was, but uh, so anyway, uh, he also claimed to be a friend of Dad's, and Dad seemed to know him, but later after they left, Dad said that he knew her, but didn't know him very well. Uh, and then he said he'd like to get to know her better. You know, that's Dad. He just loves women. Uh, so anyway, these people invited us to dinner, and seemed like a good idea to me. I'm like new to the area. I need to make friends. It's good for Dad to have a social life. So we accepted, and I took Dad over to their house for dinner. I guess what happened was when Peggy found out she couldn't stay with Dad, she went and hit up this guy Nick and moved in with him. So she lives with Nick now, I guess. Uh, anyway, so we went over to their house for dinner and had dinner, and they plied us with wine, and it was all very, you know, uh, very nice dinner, and I thought they were being friendly and being nice people, but really they were, you know, really had us there to kind of get information, and what they were trying to do was perpetuate the ripoff of my dad. You know, the continue taking his paintings and getting him to write checks and things like that. So. I didn't find out right away though. It took me a while to figure out what was going on with these people. So we left that night, came home, you know, and I invited them. I said, "Oh, you'll have to come over to our place. I'll fix you dinner," you know. And they acted strange when I invited them. They didn't seem to like jump on that. You know, it was just weird. So whatever. They invited us again to have dinner at their house a second time. And in between that first dinner and the second dinner, these other people who kind of been ripping Dad off uh, met with him. They were meeting with him every week at this cafe here in San Luis Obispo. And they had this kind of scam worked out where they would like stroke his ego, and then they'd show him this plan that they made for this, you know, facility that was going to house some of Dad's sculptures and stuff. And so, and then they'd get Dad to write a check, and they had like a non-profit organization set up through this company called Eco Logistics. And the idea was they were going to collect money. They were going to raise all this money, and then they were going to build this sort of a museum to put these sculptures of my dad's in. And of course, Dad just loved that idea, you know. And the thing is that I contacted Eco Logistics, and I asked them for a record of all the donees to the project, you know. And really, there was a few people who had donated a few $100s here and there, but really the bulk of the money was coming from Dad, and they were getting him to write checks like $1,500 at a time, and give it to this 5013C, you know, to uh, for this project. Well, the project was never ever going to come to fruition because they needed to come up with $1 million to do this project, and there was just no way they were ever going to get close to it. Instead, they had Dad paying several people to raise money for the project, but no money was ever really raised. I mean, they didn't raise much money at all. All they were doing was collecting a check from Dad every month. So they wound up taking pretty much all of his money. You know? And so by the time I got here, they'd cleaned him out more or less. And I just got here in time to kind of pick up the pieces and, uh, you know, uh, try to do some damage control. And of course, they didn't like that. They didn't like the idea that, you know, his family was suddenly here to look out for him and keep an eye on his best interests. You know, how could they continue to get him to write checks and give them paintings and stuff if somebody who was all here was looking out for him? Uh, so they did their best to hurt me and to get rid of me and to, you know, they were trying to get me to leave the county and go back to New Mexico, and just tried everything to get rid of me. And I just fought them back as hard as I could. And you know, part of their strategy was to, and I've, I've learned a lot about Alzheimer's disease since all this began, but you know, there's actually an industry built around going around and finding people with Alzheimer's disease and taking advantage of them and making a profit off of them somehow. And so uh, that's kind of what was going on here, I think, with Dad. And so when these people, so on the second dinner, when I went over to Nick and Peggy's for the second dinner, and Dad had just these people had just met with these people at the cafe and written them a check for $1,500, and I found out about it because uh, how come? Because we were looking at Dad's bank records, and so I got a copy of the check, and I said, you know, what's this check for? You know, and Dad didn't know what the check was for, and so then I contacted that guy who drew up the plans that was meeting with Dad every week, and I was like, you know, because the check was written out to Echo Logistics. Well, so I'm sitting there going, you know, who got Dad to write this check? Because there's no way he's going to just write the check on his own. He would have to be, you know, prompted to write the check. So I called a couple of people, you know, that were involved in this project. You know, they called it the Peace Project. And I was like, what's up with this check? You know, you guys, because I had already talked to these people and I told them about my dad's condition, that he had Alzheimer's disease, that he was nearly broke, that he was going to need a lot of care and he couldn't afford to be writing checks, you know, to nonprofits. And they had assured me, they said, oh, don't worry, we're not going to take any more money from your dad. Well, then a couple weeks later, I see this check for $1,500, and I'm like, to Echo Logistics. So I called these people up. I says, what's up with this? You know, why, you know, are you guys still I thought you said you were going to stop taking money from Dad. And they says, oh, yeah, don't worry, that was the last one. Or, you know, it was just weird. So anyway, we were had been invited that night to go have dinner again with Nick and Peggy. So we went over to their house, and I was telling them about this thing, you know, these people getting Dad to write checks and the $1,500, and how I was upset about it. Oh, because the check brought his bank account down to zero. It cleaned him out to a zero. I mean, it was zero balance. It took every penny in his account. So I was telling them over dinner how I thought how horrible it was, and that these people were taking advantage of my dad, and you know how upset I was about it. And this guy Nick says, oh, Echo Logistics, I've heard of them. They're a great company. I give them money all the time, and blah blah, you know. So it was at that moment, you know, and I asked him, so you think it's okay to get an old man with Alzheimer's disease to write checks that put him to a zero balance, you know, for this nonprofit? He goes, oh yeah, I think that's fine. So that's when I realized that this guy Nick was up to no good. He wasn't really a friend of Dad's. he was somehow connected with echologistics. And the reason they came to Dad's porch was because the payments had stopped coming in, and they wanted to see what was going on, who was interfering with their stream of income, what happened. So that's why they were so disappointed to see me when they showed up at Dad's house and found me here looking after him. And so anyway, we left that night, and later when I realized part of their strategy was to take Dad and turn him against me, try to make him sow distrust, which is not hard to do with someone with Alzheimer's disease. They kind of have, in the early stages, they tend to get real paranoid and distrustful of their family, and specifically, people who are caring for them. So I think they knew this. They've had experience dealing with people with Alzheimer's, and they knew kind of the dynamic, and so they fostered that in him. They tried to sow those seeds of distrust and try to turn him against me, and they were very successful with it. And so, like, I had to kind of retreat. I retreated out. I left the trailer here, and I went and stayed in the studio up in San Miguel for a while. And then I tried to bring, these people kept calling me, and I knew they were up to no good, so I just wouldn't communicate with them anymore. And in fact, once I realized what they were up to, I tried to file restraining orders against them. But the courts in San Luis Obispo County are not known for being very efficient, or it's just there's a lot of problems here with the courts, just staffing and just a strange culture in the legal community here. And so like, I brought in 2 restraining orders, one for him, one for her, and the clerk filed one of them and threw the other one in the trash. Oh, I didn't even get to speak to the clerk. The clerk doesn't come to the window. They send somebody else to the window. So anyway, it was a real problem, because since they lived together, one of them got served with the restraining order, the other one didn't. And the one who didn't get served with the restraining order came straight over to Dad's house and, talked him into dismissing the restraining orders, because I brought them in his name. And then they got Dad to give them power of attorney so that they could basically take control of all of his property and all of his art and everything. So, yeah, at that point, I was left with no relief. The only option I had at that point was to file an application for conservatorship over my father, because I realized anybody can just walk in and get Dad to give him a power of attorney. I need a conservatorship to protect him from that. So that went on, and for a long time, until these people just finally gave up. They just realized I was going to fight them to the death, and they just gave up. I think something bad happened to Nick. I'm not sure, but Dad said he fell on his face or something. As far as I'm concerned, he deserved it. Anyway, that's pretty much the story. Finally, I was able to repair the damage they'd done, and rebuild the relationship with Dad and gain his trust again. And so now, just taking care of him as best I can, trying to make him comfortable. That's all you can really do with an Alzheimer's patient. You try and keep them comfortable, and just doing some work around here. I can't really keep a job right now, so I'm looking for work, but it's like, even if I was hired, I'm so busy taking care of Dad. But he's probably not going to last very long. I mean, this disease will come up and just take you, and sometimes they can linger for years and years. But in Dad's case, I don't think so. He's really on a rapid decline, and you know, if this might be his last Christmas, might be his last Thanksgiving coming up here. Um, but I'm going to be here and just taking care of him and keeping him comfortable as I can. And I try to keep working on my YouTube channels since I do have some free time while I'm here. But I want to thank you all for, you know, coming in to my channel and watching my videos. And I'd love to hear your comments down below. I try to reply to all of you. I'd love to hear your questions. And I'm thinking about doing a live stream on this channel next week, if I can. I'm not sure if I have the privileges on this channel to do a live stream or not, but if I do, it'll be like Saturday morning. God, I'm getting cold too. I better go in and check on Dad. But yeah, let's try and do Saturday morning, like a question answer session. And I'll go live just like this. And beautiful airplane going overhead. And then I'll try to answer your questions live, and we'll do some super chat or whatever. I'll do it from my desktop computer, so we can have a nice, you know, horizontal view, and we can screen the comments coming down, and I'll answer your questions as they come in, and we can all talk and interact with each other. I would really love to see you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll talk to you next week.